Thank you, Chairman Latta, and thank you, Ranking Member Castor, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. I'm glad we're holding this important hearing as the debate around permitting reform continues. That's certainly something we've been talking about in our subcommittee and full committee, and many of the bills that are before us today would make incremental improvements to our electrical grid's ability to meet demand from AI. It seems to me, though, that they fail to address the core blockers to building transmission at scale, and that's planning across regions, permitting certainty, and a workable cost allocation. So I'd like to focus my questions on the last of these three issues, and in particular talk about the FAIR Act. The FAIR Act prohibits grid operators from charging the costs of transmission project to other utilities if any part of the drivers of a project are related to state policies. And the bill provides no specific definition of state policies, and it's pretty clearly targeted at states that have renewable portfolio standards or otherwise incentivize renewable energy generation. And I know that many of my colleagues have expressed concerns in this room about red states paying for blue state policies, but I do believe that this bill as written has a lot of unintended consequences. And certainly, I live in a red state. I live in Texas. And in Texas, parts of which are outside of ERCOT and hence would be subject to the bill, ensuring that our grid can withstand hurricanes and extreme weather is crucial. And our Public Utility Commission and our electric utilities use system resiliency plans to improve grid reliability through physical system upgrades, through technical modernization, and operational improvements that will prevent and reduce outages for Texans and protect against natural disasters. So, Ms. Muse, I want to direct my first question to you. Would the FAIR Act cover any state policy that creates a transmission need, whether those are state grid resilience policies or simply policies to do with any large consumer electricity? How would this impact states with interregional connections that face hurricanes or other extreme weather events?
Thank you. The FAIR Act is written quite broadly to include just a broad swath of state and local policy, and so it is unclear kind of what would fall into that category, which is why I have concerns around it, as it would slow and really stymie interregional transmission. We have a real need for transmission to improve the resilience and reliability of the grid as we are looking to build a grid that is bigger than the weather, and so that we can move power from where it is very hot, where it is very cold, where there is extreme needs for power to places that may not have as high demand. And the way to do that is to build transmission line that connects the grid more fully across state lines.
Thank you, and I love the way you describe that, building a grid that's bigger than the weather. I think that continues to be a concern for all of us from Texas in every part of the state, but certainly on the Gulf Coast where I live, we are concerned year-round about the grid and about making sure we have that. And I think, another thing that I want to put to everybody on the panel, so maybe I'll just go down the line here. Different states and different regions even may disagree on whether to count certain social or environmental benefits or policies when evaluating a transmission line. But would everyone agree that the benefits of grid upgrades to reliability and affordability should be accounted for as FERC already requires today? Mr. Myers?
I think yes. I think it is important to note that what defines a benefit does vary from state to state. And that is hardly ever going to come to an agreement, which I think is maybe the crux of your concern.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Mr. Falcone?
I would just say that transmission is generally broken into three categories. You have economic, which is things that just make sense and they pay for themselves. You have reliability, which you need for reliability purposes. And then there's the third category, which is generally like public policy transmission. By definition, those don't meet the economic or the reliability criteria. I think one of the questions is, okay, if one party is incurring or has a public policy that requires an upgrade, how do you allocate those costs? But a big thing I would say is any investment has benefit. And so if something costs $100 and its tangible benefits are $80 and it's driven by public policy, it doesn't mean that the $100 should be allocated just to the person driving the public policy. probably the $80 of tangible benefit should be allocated in a way that we traditionally do, and maybe the other 20, I leave that up to Congress. But there is benefit to every upgrade.
Well, thanks, Mr. Falcone. I've run out of time in my questions, so Ms. Muse and Mr. Peeler, I'm going to ask you to please submit answers to that question for the record, and I'll submit it through our process so that you get it sent back to you. You don't have to write it down and remember it, but we'll get it over to you. I thank you all very much for your testimony, and I thank you, Chairman Latta, and yield back.